Well, welcome to Wednesday midweek here, and I am still kind of fighting this sinus cold type thing, but I feel like I'm over the hump and I'm getting closer to getting back to myself here, but I'm still a little hoarse. Well, thank you for joining me this week for the How You Doing Bobcast show that reviews and reflects on Pastor Chris Petty's previous Sunday morning message given at Lakeside Family Church in Stevensville, Michigan. You can always check out his messages on YouTube by searching for Lakeside Family Church or go to the link found on the Lakeside Family Church Facebook page. So how you doing? You feeling okay this week? Are you feeling blessed? Are you feeling down? Well, let's take this journey together. I'm your host, Bob Cook. For me, I'm continuing on from last week, still having this sinus cold thing, like I had said. So I really do believe I'm at the tail end. So I pray that perhaps by next week I'll be sounding back to my old self. It's no fun being sick. You just get kind of drugged down. But I just try to remember the Lord and His timing and remember this too shall pass. When you're in that hole, sometimes you wonder, but it will. So keep that in mind if you find yourself there too. Well, I know many of you attended the Barron County Youth Fair last Friday. We had a great time. The band did a great job on Friday night. And as I mentioned, Vince, Jeff, and Pastor Chris Petty were all in the band. And along with Vince's nephew and his son, who was celebrating his birthday. So both he and I have August birthdays. And it was just a great, fun time. I got my fair food. I got corn dogs, Philly cheesesteak sandwich that really rivaled any of those that I've had in Philly. And I had a snow cone. I hadn't had a snow cone in years. And it was only $1. You can't beat that. Well, I wasn't able to attend, but Kate from our worship team at Lakeside Family Church reported her band, Blue Shoes, had a good time Saturday night as well. And they'll be playing at Waco Beach in Bridgman in the Summer Sunset Series on Sunday, August 30th. So this coming Sunday. So I think Angel and I plan to go. Feel free to join us. Those are free concerts, and I believe the parking is free for the concerts as well. So please come join us for an evening of jazz. Well, continuing with the music theme here, Pastor Chris mentioned several songs and asked about what they have in common. And for example, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places by Johnny Lee. I've got this raspy voice, so I'm going to try this anyway. And how about Foreigner? I want to know what love is. Okay. And how about this one? I still haven't found what I'm looking for, by Bono and U2. So I tried to pull it off there. But as human beings, we're all searching for something, right? Something that fills a God-shaped void. And it's inherent in all of us. So we're looking for love, right? But so often we're looking in the wrong place. And we really want to understand what love is. And so often we still haven't found what we're looking for. There's so many people. Thankfully, some of us have, and we'll discuss what that is, right? What fills that void? So Pastor Chris continued with his parable series, The Invisible Kingdom, and he covered another short parable that often gets overlooked. To date, all the parables came from Matthew 13. And his series has emphasized it often looks like nothing is happening, but it is. Now, if you recall, last week was a man who found a treasure in a field. And Pastor said many preachers will just lump that parable with this week's parable and just, preach on them together. But not Pastor Chris. He sees a little bit of difference there, and he wanted to emphasize that. Pastor indicated he's heard it said even people who say they're not religious are organizing their lives around something. And I have my own saying, unless I stole it from someone and just forgot who it was, but I think I came up with this. We all believe in something, even nothing is something. Pastor also shared, when you find what your soul is searching for, you should stop shopping, right? Stop searching, stop shopping. So here it is, Matthew 13:45 through 46. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. When he found one of great value, he went away and sold everything he had and bought it. It does sound a little familiar, right? Kind of like the field. But last week's verse gives us the impression the guy is just going through life and stumbled on and found a treasure in a field. Maybe he wasn't necessarily looking for it, like the merchant was actually looking. This week's verse, the guy is searching. He's looking. He knows what he's looking for. He's a merchant and likely has a good feeling for pearls and their value. Like last week, Jesus doesn't explain this parable, but Pastor Chris is going to help us out. Now, this guy that finds this pearl, he knows pearls. He's searching for it. He's intentionally looking. He understands their value. He's probably sold many pearls in the past if he's a merchant. As humans, we search for things, right? We search for a family unit, achievement, approval, money. I do want to remind you now, money is a tool. It is not evil in itself. However, the love of money is the root of all evil. And just to kind of expand upon that, see 1 Timothy 6:10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs. Now, Paul, he had someone under him, kind of a protege, Timothy, young Timothy, and he had him go out to Corinth and some of the other towns, and many of these towns were kind of major trading areas, and so money would have been kind of an important thing there for these large cities and the trading that went on there. So there were a lot of wealthy people. So I think he was teaching Timothy that this could be an issue. And Hebrews 13:5 says, keep your lives free from the love of money and be content with what you have, because God has said, never will I leave you, never will I forsake you. That's really all we need, right? Did you listen to last week's Living for Christ, A Walk to Eternity Bobcast on contentment? That was our topic. If not, please check it out. I mean, I created the podcast, right, and did some research, but I listened to it the other day. I always listen to them myself, too, just to see, okay, did I miss something? Do I need to improve upon something? But it really spoke to me as well. Contentment is just such a gift, such a gift. If you haven't listened to it, please check it out. Now, pursuing things, money, achievement, approval, pursuing interests, wants, and dreams in themselves are not bad. God designed us to move forward, to accomplish, to build. He created us in His image, and He is a creator. And that's why I think so often it pleases us when we are building or working on projects or, after we finish, kind of sitting back and really taking a moment to, celebrate the accomplishment and what we've built, with our hands and, of course, God's help. There's something built into our DNA. Just as God looked at his creation and said, "This is good," several times as he went through creation and building it, we often like to take a look at what we've built and just enjoy it. And we should. I love working on projects at home and then seeing the finished project. I built a bench, I think it was last fall, and it's so fun to sit on it. It's kind of up on our hill, and it kind of looks west. And it's fun. It's fun to know, with God's help, obviously, I had the ability to build this bench and doing some research and knowing what kind of bench I wanted to build and so forth. And it's just fun to create. But it's a balance, right? It's about priority. If all we're doing is accomplishing for ourselves and we leave God and others out of it, as King Solomon said, it's chasing after the wind. Can you see that? Can you ever catch the wind? Have you ever been on a windy day, the wind's blowing in your face? Oh, you can use the wind to sail. We can harness it. It's something I've always wanted to do. I want to learn to sail. That's on my bucket list. Sometimes you'll have little sailing schools and you'll see these little kids out there on the dinghies sailing. I've seen it in Santa Barbara. I've seen it in St. Joe. I've seen it in San Diego. And yeah, one of these days you're going to see Bob. You're going to see Bob out there too. And I'm going to learn to sail. I just want to understand it. So we can harness the wind, but you can't catch it and hold it, right? You just can't. So I just picture being on a windy day and trying to go out and grasp the wind. It's like chasing after the wind when you seek things only for what they are and what they can do for you. Achieving some approval from other people is okay. I mean, if you're a complete rebel, you will have a tough life. Pastor emphasized that. So live to develop relationships, right? To find favor to some extent. Just don't prioritize it above your relationship with Jesus. But life will go better if we treat others kindly and we develop relationships with others and we have favor in their eyes. Don't go against the flow all of the time just for the sake of it. It will make life difficult. I mean, sometimes we do need to go against the flow. We need to, call people out so they don't walk off a cliff, But if we're always kind of fighting, it's going to wear us out. It makes me think of the movie Elf. That's one of Angel's and my favorite Christmas movies. If you recall, the basement mailroom scene where Elf makes a friend and they're putting syrup in their coffee. Well, it ends up not being syrup. He thought it was. And the man that he made friends with, they're kind of laying while everybody's working. They're laying back because they've had a lot of syrup in their coffee on this table. And he's saying like, hey, man, I've had a lot of good ideas, but no one listens to me. I try to go with the flow. And Elf says, yeah, go with the flow. But then he says, no, I got to get out of the flow. I've been going with the flow. That's what got me here. I need to go against the flow. I'm 26 years old and I have nothing to show for it. He looks like he's 36 at least, but it's just so funny. But it reminded me of that scene. And when you watch Elf this year, check it out. But seeking is not bad. But make sure you're seeking for the right thing. Seek the right thing. Pastor shared about an author he follows that's an atheist, but this author is pro-religion. So he's an atheist, but he sees benefit in religion, in spirituality. He sees them as helpful. And those who attend church and are involved have greater impact on those around them. And it's beneficial not only to others, but to themselves as well. That's kind of this author's take, even though he's an atheist. And I guess he goes on to say, we have evolved and we now recognize a God-shaped hole in our hearts. Well, Pastor kind of clarified that, evolved, and I'm paraphrasing, but evolved can be kind of on the evolutionary realm, but perhaps we can say God has put a desire in our hearts. God placed a God-shaped hole in us. And there's a need. There must be more. There must be more to life. I suspect, as Pastor does, it's got to be in all of us, that we all have that need. We often think, if I could only have this one thing, I will have arrived. Again, this makes me think of my Living for Christ to Walk to Eternity Bobcast episode last week on contentment. It's amazing how it all ties together. It's like we're sharing from the same book, because we are. The Bible, God's truth. Pastor shared achievement isn't bad, but it makes a terrible God. Right? If that's all we're holding on to, I think we're going to realize we're sadly mistaken at some point in our lives. Even good things can be destructive when we make them something they were never meant to be, to fulfill something they were never meant to fill, to satisfy something they were never meant to satisfy. In the text of the verses that we discussed earlier, the merchant was looking for fine pearls. He was searching. Our problem is so often we're asking good things to do something, to accomplish something they were never meant to accomplish. Marriage is a good thing, right? If you're married, and I am, amen. It's a good thing. But your spouse can't be God to you. The world cannot revolve around them. Even the very best husband or the best wife will let you down sometimes. We're human, and we're fallen, and we're sinful. But Jesus will never let you down. So love your spouse, but make God the center of your universe. Pastor Chris said Jesus should outrank everything. Christianity reorders everything. It doesn't get rid of everything, but it does reorder. Paul said in Philippians 3, 7-8, "But whatever were gains to me, I now consider loss for the sake of Christ. What is more, I consider everything a loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus, my Lord, for whose sake I have lost all things. I consider them garbage that I may gain Christ." Now, Pastor clarified, Paul is being figurative here. He didn't lose everything. He still had his talents. He was a tent maker. He still had his knowledge, and I expect other things as well. But in comparison to Christ, they were all rubbish. Christ was prioritized as number one, to which nothing else compared. Pastor shared, when Jesus becomes our greatest treasure, we don't have to stop loving or enjoying lesser treasures, but just stop asking them to be our God. It really frees us. It frees us to enjoy those blessings that He has given us. Material things, of course, family, relationships, the ability to maybe travel and enjoy His creation, a walk on the beach, just so many things we can enjoy when we correctly prioritize Jesus as our greatest treasure. And I would add, in fact, perhaps we can enjoy them even more because they are rightly prioritized in our lives. Pastor mentioned Viktor Frankl, and I've heard of him, and I kind of knew a little bit about who he was, but I did a quick little look up. And here's a little background. He was a Holocaust survivor and the founder of Logotherapy, an existential school of psychotherapy based on the idea that humans are driven by a will to meaning. He also wrote the widely acclaimed 1946 book, Man's Search for Meaning, detailing his concentration camp experiences. Again, it goes back to that God-shaped hole. We need something to fill it. We need to have meaning and purpose in our lives. He endured tremendous trauma and hardships, but found when the hardships belong to a meaningful story, a person has the ability to endure. It's not just about pleasure, but about living for something bigger than ourselves. Pastor emphasized every life contains sacrifice, right? Getting married, which we talked about just a few moments ago, results in some sacrifice, right? A loss of some independence. Hopefully a willing loss, right? Because you agreed, but there is some loss. It changes your life. It reprioritizes your life. Having and raising children results in a sacrifice. It causes a refocus, less on self, more on the kids and what their needs are. And it doesn't stop from just being young. Obviously there's a lot of work when they're young and they're growing and they're developing, but even when they get out of their house, sometimes there's still sacrifices you make because you love them. It may be a listening ear, it may be some encouragement, but there's a sacrifice there. And one I really love doing, honestly. We miss our kids. We don't live near them, and it's such a pleasure to talk with them. And when you're building your career, it causes a sacrifice, right? It causes choices. You may be sacrificing time. You may be sacrificing energy, giving up some of your free time in order to build your career, to provide for your family. Following Jesus also requires a sacrifice, giving up self-rule, right, and doing whatever your flesh pleases and allowing him to lead us. Let's ask ourselves, what is worthy of my sacrifice? The merchant calculated the value. He knows the value of pearls. He understood when he was searching and he found this pearl, it was worth everything he had. This parable is about discipleship. Instead of asking, what is he asking me to give up? What is God asking me to give up? Maybe we should ask, what am I here to do? What am I here to do to glorify him and to be able to help others? Our surrender to God is God freeing our hands to do what you and I were made for. Pastor reminded us of one of his past messages. It was entitled, The Best Life You're Missing. And I recall I enjoyed that series. But research shows that these things give you a more satisfied life. Okay? These things are gratitude, being thankful for what we have, generosity, giving away some of what we have and what we've been blessed with, rest, just taking a moment and pausing, be still and know I am God, pausing and understanding our relationship with him and him being our priority, community, being part of a community, purpose, having a purpose, something bigger than yourself, something bigger than myself. God calls us to live in community with others, to love Him and to love others, to have a purpose, to serve others, and to experience rest. The kingdom of God already incorporates all of these things. Jesus said, I am the bread of life, the living water. He came to give rest, purpose, and meaning. As a believer, Jesus becomes the center of our everything. Right? He's the way, the truth, and the life. It doesn't mean you and I won't struggle. We will. Jesus even said, you will have trouble in this life. The last thing we want to do is race to climb the corporate ladder, making many sacrifices along the way. And once we get there, we find it was leaning against the wrong wall. I thought that was a great illustration by Pastor. I will leave you with this verse. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world. Those are the words of Jesus as shared in John chapter 16, verse 33. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little recap, review, and reflection upon Pastor Chris's message from last Sunday. Until next time, keep your eyes on Jesus, keep walking by faith, and remember, we're all taking a walk toward eternity. Tell someone you love them today. God bless.